All right. So welcome. This is a class on inflammation. I'm Kelly Malloy. Hopefully you know who I am already. I'm a certified health coach, and I also love to teach people how to use essential oils for all kinds of amazing things. So this class is going to be a little bit of an overview of inflammation. We're going to talk a little bit about inflammation. We're going to talk a little bit about pain, and we're going to talk a little bit about how Young Living products can help with these things. All right, what we're not going to do is diagnose, prescribe, or treat any conditions during this class. So this is just for informational purposes. And if anything in here speaks to you or any questions come to you as a result of this information, please check with your medical doctor before pursuing anything that I talk about today. All right, this is not intended to give you any treatment options. It's just for educational purposes. All right, so let's start off with the very, very basics, which are, really the question of what is inflammation. I like to cover this, and I kind of like to cover these simple facts about health topics, because oftentimes there are words that just sort of become nebulous to us, right? And inflammation is one of those words. We hear it all the time. We hear about, inflammation being the root of all disease, or we hear how problematic inflammation is, or chronic inflammation. But I think we almost become numb to it. So I just want to make sure that you have a good understanding of what inflammation actually is, right? And there are really two different types or forms of inflammation. The first is acute, and the second is chronic. So acute inflammation is what you might experience if you fall on your knee or hit your elbow on something, right? Where you have that inflamed area, right? Where the immune system is sending its worker bees, those white blood cells in there. It's producing inflammation to let those white blood cells and, all the other things that are being sent there do their work, all right, in healing. So that's acute inflammation. It's usually the result of an injury or an infection, and it's usually short-lived, right? So you fall, your knee swells up, and then hopefully very soon after that swelling starts to go down. Okay, that's acute inflammation. Chronic inflammation is something a little bit different. Chronic inflammation, and we're going to go into more detail on this on the next slide, but chronic inflammation is something that does not go away very quickly, and it's not usually the result of an injury or fall or an infection. It can be, but oftentimes there are other causes, which we're going to talk about today. All right. Inflammation is also the immune system reaction to an irritant, right? When your immune system reacts to things, part of its healing mechanism is to create inflammation, right? We need that. It's sort of the, think of it as like the yellow police tape that goes around an area to allow healing to occur. Okay, so it sort of cordons off the area, allows all of the healing mechanisms of the immune system to get there and do what they need to do. So it's a part of your immune system response. It's a part of our normal healing response, but it shouldn't be happening all the time. Okay, and as I mentioned, it is recognized as the root of all disease. So what is the problem with chronic inflammation? Let me just make sure, yeah. The problem with chronic inflammation is that your body can actually start damaging healthy cells. It can start damaging your own tissue and even your own organs. Right? So if that inflammation hangs around, it can actually create damage in your body. It can also damage your DNA, right? It can create tissue death, and it can create plaque. So I don't think most of us want anything that creates plaque in our bodies. So that's another thing to be aware of, okay? That inflammation, and that's why they'll connect that with heart disease, for instance, right? Because if you have chronic inflammation that's generating plaque, and that plaque is building up in your arteries, right, then we're looking at atherosclerosis, we're looking at, different heart diseases. So it's also connected, though, to many other degenerative diseases like diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, irritable bowel disease, and even cancer. Okay, but there's a long list of other illnesses that are associated with inflammation. And I like to explain to people that it really can be a silent killer, because you can have inflammation going on in your body, that chronic inflammation, right, without even being aware of it, because you don't have that boo-boo on the elbow or the knee. It's not that kind of inflammation. It's internal, right? So you may not be aware of it, until you really start having significant issues from it, okay? Here are some of the symptoms of chronic inflammation. So just take a look at these and see, and just kind of do a little assessment of which, if any of these you deal with, how many of them you deal with, and just understand that they can be signs of chronic inflammation. So that includes body pains, or just saying, you know, I have aches and pains all the time, chronic fatigue, insomnia, sleep issues, depression, anxiety, and mood disorders can actually be the result of inflammation. GI issues, very common: constipation, diarrhea, gas, reflux, acid reflux, weight gain or weight loss, frequent infections, right? So if you're constantly getting various types of infections, memory issues or brain fog, that's especially true of inflammation in the brain. Acne or rashes. So acne, a lot of people don't realize, but acne is an inflammatory condition. So if you have chronic acne, it's a sign of chronic inflammation. And even simple things like a chronic stuffy nose can be a sign that your body's dealing with chronic inflammation. All right, so let's dive a little deeper into the causes of inflammation, right? So as I mentioned, we have acute inflammation and we have chronic inflammation. We're going to be focusing on chronic inflammation today. So what are some of those basic causes of chronic inflammation? Well, one of them actually can be the causes of acute inflammation if they go untreated, right? So an infection or an injury, if it's not treated and it needs treatment, then that can actually lead to chronic inflammation, okay? Also, autoimmune disorders will lead to chronic inflammation because that's where your immune system actually thinks it's doing a good job. It thinks it's attacking an invader. It thinks it's getting rid of something bad in the body, but it's actually attacking your own tissue. Right? That's what an autoimmune disorder is. It's the immune system gone awry. And when that happens, the immune system is continually producing inflammation in response to that thing that it thinks is a bad thing that is actually your own tissue. Okay, so autoimmune disorders are very, very common to produce chronic inflammation. The other thing, and again, these are the basic causes of inflammation, are long-term exposures to irritants such as industrial chemicals, toxins, or polluted air. Okay, so again, just take stock of any of these that you might have happening in your life, or if they have happened in your life in the past, and just kind of do your own little assessment here on that. Okay, so we have those basic causes, right? So it could be an acute injury or infection. It could be an irritant of some kind. It could be an autoimmune disorder, right? We're not going to dive too deep into the autoimmune disorders because that's something that could be an entire class on its own. And because I'm not here to diagnose, treat, or prescribe, I don't want to get too detailed into diagnoses, all right? But if you know you have an autoimmune disorder, that's something obviously that you're aware of, I'm sure already, and or hopefully you're aware of, but you now know that it actually does lead to chronic inflammation. Okay, we're going to touch a little bit on autoimmune in just a moment when we talk about food, but these are some of the more specific causes, okay? These are those reactionary items. These are the things that cause the immune system to react. These are the irritants, okay? And food, yes, food can actually be fit into that irritant category if it meets one of these categories that I've listed here. So if you have an allergy or sensitivity to that food, your body, your immune system will react to it as an irritant. If the food is highly inflammatory, then your immune system, your body can also react to it in the same way. And foods that are high in preservatives, additives, and chemicals can all create a reaction from the body as if it's an irritant. Okay, this involves foreign substances, right? This involves chemicals and additives that your body doesn't recognize as food, so it's going to launch some kind of response to that. Okay, so foods can absolutely be a very specific cause of chronic inflammation. It's probably the least known and least understood, least talked about cause of chronic inflammation. But if you've heard of things like the Mediterranean diet or the anti-inflammatory diet, then that gives you a clue that there actually is a way of eating that can support the reduction of inflammation in the body. Okay, so foods are one category. We're going to go deeper into that in just a moment. The other category we're going to focus on today are toxins. So toxins, again, will cause your body to react as if they're an irritant. They don't belong in your body. Unfortunately, we absorb them, whether we like it or not, from things all around us, right? So anything that you put on your skin, you absorb within 26 seconds. Things that you breathe, things that are in the air, anything that comes in contact with your skin, things you spray when you're cleaning, all of that can get absorbed into the body. All right, so this can include cleaning products. It can include personal care products that have chemical ingredients, preservatives. There's a whole list of ingredients that can be in personal care products that can be toxic to the body. And then we also have toxins in our air, our water, in our environment. Things are outgassing from our furniture, from carpeting, from things all around us. All right, so those are the two categories that we're going to focus on most today, because these are the two categories that you can actually do the most about. That's the good news. All right. So when we talk about food in that first section, that first little bullet of foods that you have allergies or sensitivities to, the thing that most people are not aware of is the prevalence of hidden food sensitivities in our world. So it's estimated that 70% of the population is dealing with a hidden food sensitivity. So these are not full-blown food allergies, right? Like a peanut allergy or a shellfish allergy. Usually you know about those, right? Usually by the time you're 2 or 3 years old, you know if you have one of those. They're called IgE reactions, immunoglobulin E, and that I refer to as a full-blown food allergy, right? You might have your throat closed, you might get hives, you might vomit, you might go into anaphylactic shock. That's one type of allergy, and that it does cause the immune system to react to a food as if it's an irritant. And it launches an attack against that food, and it kicks off an inflammatory response as part of that reaction, okay? Hidden food sensitivities are similar in that they still involve the immune system attacking a food, but it's a much more delayed reaction and it's much more subtle, right? So with a full-blown food allergy, usually within 2 to 4 hours, you know you're having a reaction to something. And that's why it's so easy to make the connection and realize, oh my gosh, he just had peanuts. He's breaking out in hives, or his throat's closing. He must be allergic to peanuts, okay? Food sensitivities, while the immune system is reacting to that food, while it's still kicking up an inflammatory response, it's much slower in the response. So it might be several days before you actually have that response, and it's usually more subtle, right? So it might be, I'm going to give you the list of them in a second, but it might be just a digestive response. It might be a headache. It might be a skin rash or bloating, right? The key is the response still produces inflammation. So if you're eating that food over and over again throughout your life, and you never identify that that food is the thing that's causing your headaches or causing your joint pain or causing your digestive issue, you're just continuing to produce chronic inflammation in the body, okay? So that's what's really important. And food sensitivities, if they're not addressed, can actually lead to autoimmune. All right, so an autoimmune disorder can really come from a hidden food sensitivity. And the way that that happens is that if your immune system is fighting a food, every time you eat that food, it's releasing macrophages, which are like these little Pac-Men, and their job is to go and gobble up those food proteins to get them out of the body. But those little Pac-Men can get a little overzealous, and they can start attacking healthy tissue in that area, right? So that's how an autoimmune disorder can start, from food sensitivity. So that's why food sensitivities are really important to identify if you want to reduce or prevent chronic inflammation, okay? All right, so the IgE reactions, those are the full-blown ones that I told you about, the full-blown food allergies. That's what's commonly tested for. So if you get an allergy test at your doctor's office, that's probably what they're going to test for. Those are IgE reactions, okay? And again, think peanut allergies, think immediate, right? So when I say IgE, immediate, it's not spelled that way, but phonetically, okay? So they're more immediate, response comes quick, and they're more obvious. So in the diagram that you see on your screen right now, the line, that black line across the top, is your bar of health. And essentially anything that goes above the bar of health, you're going to notice. You're going to recognize symptoms. You're going to feel something. Anything that's under that bar of health, your immune system is going to be able to keep it under wraps. Okay. So what happens is your IgE reactions, those full-blown food allergy reactions, they always go over the bar of health, so you always notice the reaction, and that's what makes it much easier for you to pinpoint, oh gosh, every time I eat pineapple, my tongue gets numb, right? Or every time I eat shellfish, I get hives. So you recognize it because the symptoms are clear and obvious. The interesting thing is that those types of reactions, percentage-wise in the population, are relatively small, right? But people who have them know because they're pretty obvious. The IgG reactions, those hidden food sensitivities, the body uses a different set of antibodies to fight those reactions. That actually encompasses a lot more of the people out there that have food reactions. They just don't know it because it's under the bar of health. The symptoms aren't significant enough for them to say, whoa, something's up with the food I'm eating, or that thing I just ate caused my joint pain, because there's the time lapse between eating the food and having the symptom is so delayed, right? So your IgG reactions, those delayed food sensitivity reactions, are actually estimated to be about 75% of the immune response, all right? So your immune system is dealing with in most cases, a much smaller level of those full-blown food allergies, and many more instances where you can have food sensitivities. All right, so this is something to be aware of because that's under the bar of health. You're not going to notice the symptoms, but it's still producing inflammation in the body. Okay, as we age, our bar of health starts to lower naturally, just from aging, even from stress or trauma, from accidents, injuries. That bar of health actually will come down, and then you'll start to feel the symptoms from those IgG reactions. That's why most of my clients, my food sensitivity clients, are coming to me, 35 to 50 and older, but usually in that range is when they're like, wow, all of a sudden this is happening and that's happening and I have that and I have this. And it's because their bar of health is lowering, and so the tip of that symptom curve, they're actually starting to feel some of those things now. Okay, but all the while, those food sensitivity reactions are producing inflammation in your body. Okay, so that's a really important one. Just think about food sensitivity testing. It's something I do. You do not have to do that with me. If you have a practitioner that offers that, a naturopathic doctor, a certified health coach, a functional medicine doctor, they all will do food sensitivity testing, and I highly recommend it if you have any chronic conditions, or if you have any sense that you have inflammation in the body. So those symptoms that we talked about in the beginning, if you had a number of those, then it would be worthwhile to identify if you have any foods that you're eating that are causing that type of reaction in the body. Okay, and they're not necessarily bad foods. This is the tricky thing, right? So the test that I do tests for 96 different foods, and sometimes people come back, and it's asparagus that they're reacting to. So it's not necessarily that they're bad foods. So if you say, well, I already cleaned up my diet, I'm eating really healthy, that's good, but it may not be enough, right? And in my journey, in my wellness journey, I was eating so healthy and so clean. I was eating kale and quinoa and all the right things, but I had certain foods that my immune system was fighting, and until I identified that and took those foods out, I couldn't feel well. All right, so food sensitivities, which lead to reactions from the immune system, which leads to inflammation, and which can lead to autoimmune, are one area that I would highly recommend that you delve into if you really want to understand where your body's at and if you really want to prevent chronic inflammation. Okay. The other subcategory in foods are those inflammatory foods. Okay, so we can have foods we're sensitive to, and that's creating inflammation, or we can just be eating foods that are pro-inflammatory. So the list on your screen is just a short list of some of the top pro-inflammatory foods, meaning these foods, whether you're sensitive to them or not, are producing inflammation in your body. Okay, sugar is number one. Sugar is highly inflammatory, and I know sugar can be a tough thing for a lot of people. So, if you're struggling with sugar addiction, that's like an area of expertise for me, and I'm happy to share more information on that. Reach out. I have several classes recorded on sugar addiction and how to heal that naturally. all right, without white knuckling it. But sugar is very, very inflammatory. Processed meats, so things like lunch meats, cured meats, you know, your pepperonis and things like that, highly inflammatory. But really any meat, if it is cooked at high temperatures, if it's grilled and you get that black charring on it, that's highly inflammatory, because those types of cooking, those cooking methods create high levels of what are known as AGEs, advanced glycation end products. And not only do those lead to aging, as the acronym kind of says, but they're highly inflammatory. Okay, so really all meats, if they're cooked at high temperatures or charred or grilled for long periods of time, will have inflammatory effects on the body. Excess alcohol is inflammatory. Your processed carbohydrates, so really any simple, refined carbohydrates, things in bags, packages, boxes, those are going to be highly inflammatory. Your, you know, whole grains are not inflammatory. Okay, so things like quinoa, millet, brown rice, those are not highly inflammatory. Okay, but your processed carbohydrates are. Gluten is inflammatory, so even if you're not sensitive to gluten, if let's say you did food sensitivity testing and it came back, or you know for a fact that you have no reaction to gluten, eating a lot of gluten is still inflammatory to the body. Okay, and same thing with dairy. Dairy is another high inflammatory food, so even if you're not sensitive to it, even if your body can tolerate dairy, just be aware that it's an inflammatory food. Okay, and then anything that has those artificial ingredients that can be seen as an invader in the body, or that the body can react to, that the immune system can trigger a response from the immune system to react, all right, to that substance. Anything artificial, preservatives, colorings, etc., all of those things are inflammatory. Okay, so if you're eating some of these things, then you just want to make sure you're balancing it well enough, or really tipping the scale more in the direction of the anti-inflammatory foods. And we're going to talk about that next. Okay, so yes, you may have some sugar in your diet. You may have some processed meats in your diet. You may have some dairy in your diet. Just make sure you're getting a lot more of the anti-inflammatory foods than you are of the inflammatory ones. Okay. All right, so here we go with anti-inflammatory foods. I'm going to just touch on this briefly because there's so much information out there that you can find. There are tons of books and tons of websites and resources specifically on the anti-inflammatory diet. You can also look up the Mediterranean diet. That's naturally an anti-inflammatory diet. So I'm sharing with you just some of the basics here. Okay, so if you look at the picture on the screen, you'll see some lean protein, some salmon, which is also high in omega-3s, which is great for reducing inflammation. You'll see lots of fruits and veggies, green veggies, some nuts and some seeds, some healthy fats. Okay, you'll also see some turmeric, which is up in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm trying to find where the ginger is, the ginger by the green apple. So there's turmeric and ginger. So this covers a lot. Oh, there's a piece of raw ginger in the picture too. So this covers a lot of the foods in this one picture that are super helpful for reducing inflammation in the body, right? The key is vegetables, fruits, especially berries, fish and healthy fats, nuts and seeds are key to reducing inflammation in the body, and just eating in a way that doesn't produce inflammation. Okay, and especially berries. So I just had to share this picture because berries are wonderful for an anti-inflammatory response. They're also super high in antioxidants. So for so many other health conditions, for oxidative stress, which can also be inflammatory, stress in general can kick up inflammation in the body. And your super beautifully bright colored berries are awesome at helping to calm down that oxidative stress in the body. Okay, so any of the negative impact or effects of oxidative stress can be helped by eating those brightly colored berries. All right, so we talked about food. In the food category, we have foods you might be sensitive to, whether you have a food allergy or food sensitivity. And we talked about foods that are inflammatory versus foods that are anti-inflammatory. So those are the two aspects of food that you really want to get clear about and understand. And just make sure that you do your homework in those areas. Okay. The next category in terms of things our body will react to, our immune system will react to, are toxins. And I used this picture instead of like a scary picture with a skull and crossbones on it, because most of the toxins that we're exposed to are things that we think are harmless in our home. All right, so most of us, some of us maybe, but most of us are not exposed to industrial chemicals every day. You know, most of us are not exposed to, you know, formaldehyde in our workplace, but we are exposed to it in our homes, in the products that we're using. So I want you to just do your homework on the products that you use. After this class, go and grab, you know, what you're using for shampoo, what you're using for lotion, for hand soap, what you're using to wash your dishes in your sink, and start reading ingredients and get familiar with them. All right, there are a ridiculous number of chemical toxins that are allowed in our household products that are toxic to the body. All right, and if you're washing your hands with them, washing your dishes with them, spraying it in the air, washing your clothing, right? A lot of people don't think about the laundry soap. Laundry soap can be one of the worst toxic ingredients in your home because you're almost always in contact with something that was washed in it, right? Whether you're wearing clothes or you come out of the shower and put on a towel, or you're laying in bed between your sheets 24/7, you're pretty much in contact, I think most of us anyway, in contact with something that was washed in your laundry soap. Okay, so getting an understanding of the toxins that are in those products is really important. I'm not going to go super detailed here because we have an entire class, a toxin-free home class, where we go through literally different products in your home and what the chemicals are in those products and what each of those chemicals does to your body, all right, and how it's harmful to the immune system, how it can kick up inflammation and do a lot of other things, including hormonal disruption, and anxiety and all kinds of things. Okay, so really, really take this seriously. Don't just buy products without knowing what's in them, because no one else is looking out for you on this. Okay, unfortunately, that is the truth. There are hundreds of chemicals that are allowed to be in our personal care products, in our home cleaning products that haven't been tested. There are hundreds of products, hundreds of chemicals that are known to cause issues, and they're still allowed in those products. So you have to be the gatekeeper in your home and for your body to determine what comes in and what does not. All right, so the first step is just learning about what is in those products. And again, if you'd like access to that toxin-free home class, then just reach out to whoever shared this video with you. Or if you're seeing this in our Facebook group, then go ahead and just post a comment in the Facebook group that you'd like access to that class, and we'd be happy to give it to you. All right, it gives a lot more detail and kind of points you in the direction of what to look for in different products. Okay, so let's dive into how Young Living can help. Right, if you're new to Young Living Essential Oils is a lot more than an essential oils company. I started with them in 2006 because I fell in love with essential oils, and it was purely for me. Bergamot, I love bergamot. For me, it was purely about just that, just the smell and what that did for me. But then I soon came to understand that there were a lot of different healing properties and benefits to essential oils. There were ways that they could actually support my body in terms of reducing inflammation, the acute inflammation, say hurting my elbow, or the chronic inflammation. But in addition to essential oils, Young Living has an entire line of supplements, whole food, naturally derived supplements that are infused with essential oils, which makes them actually work better and get into the cells more effectively. And then they have a whole bunch of other products, personal care products, cleaning products that are natural, biodegradable, that don't have those toxins in them that we're talking about being harmful and kicking up an inflammatory response in your body. So today I'm just going to touch on a few of my favorite Young Living products and how I use them, or how I see them as supportive of this issue of chronic inflammation in our bodies. Okay, so if we're looking to support the reduction of inflammation, one product that I absolutely love from Young Living is Sulfurzyme. Sulfurzyme is a supplement, and it was designed for joint health, but it's also helpful for skin, hair, and nails. And it contains a natural ingredient called MSM. It's a natural form of sulfur that as we age, our body declines in its levels of that natural sulfur. That natural form of sulfur is incredibly helpful in helping to reduce with joint pain, and it supports that inflammatory response in the body calming down the inflammation. So MSM in sulfurzyme, but it's also great for your hair, your skin. I know a lot of people just use it for hair. A lot of people use it for their skin and their nails. Okay, sulfurzyme. Panaway and Cool-Azul, actually I have Panaway here. So Panaway is a blend of wintergreen, peppermint, helichrysum, and clove. And this is, you get a boo-boo, this is what you want, okay? It used to actually be called Pain Away, and I call it the believer oil, because anyone that puts it on, say a knee or a shoulder or a neck, oh, I could use some right now, will say, oh my gosh, that really works, it's amazing. So Panaway is great. Cool-Azul is a pain relief cream that has a lot of the same ingredients as the Panaway, it's just in a cream form. So it's a lot easier to apply, and it's actually approved as a pain relief cream. Natural, so it doesn't have any of the chemicals that you'll find in some of those other over-the-counter pain creams. You might get, in some of those, you might get some menthol. These oils have much higher percentage of natural menthol without all of the other additives, preservatives, and artificial everything included. All right, and then CBD. So Young Living also has a line of CBD oils. So I think a lot of people already know CBD can be amazing for inflammation and calming down inflammation in the body. But the Young Living CBD oils are infused with essential oils. So it creates an additional benefit, a synergistic benefit in how the CBD works, but it also can bring in the properties and benefits that that specific essential oil on top of it. Right, so you get sort of a double bonus when you do the CBD with Young Living because it has essential oils in it. The other product that I love for reducing inflammation in the body is Ningxia Red. Ningxia Red is a high antioxidant drink. Actually, this is the empty bottle that I fill with water. This is my water bottle. It's usually a beautiful red bottle because it's filled with Ningxia. But Ningxia Red is a super high antioxidant drink. It is actually on the ORAC scale, which is the scale that measures the antioxidant levels of foods. It is the fruit that is the highest in antioxidants. And it has amazing benefits for heart health, for eye health, for your immune system, for preventing or reducing that oxidative stress that I talked about, because it helps to scavenge free radicals and reduce that stress on the body, which reduces inflammation. Okay, and then a couple of other products that I love more for that acute inflammation would be Agil-Ease and BLM. Those are great for, I love those if I do anything really strenuous or, workouts, that sort of thing. There are people that find benefit in those, taking those every single day because of joint pain, because of, some inflammation in those areas of the body can be amazing. So that's what I would suggest for myself. That's what I use for reducing inflammation in the body. Another thing that's important to do is support your body in detoxing. So if you want to reduce inflammation, you've got to get the toxins out, right? So toxins as a cause of inflammation, we know that that's a fact, right? So we want to make sure we are doing things to help our body detox. Okay, so Young Living has several products that are great for this. One of the simplest are digestive enzymes, helping to break your food down, remove those irritants, help improve digestion and elimination so that you process things more effectively, more efficiently, and get things out more quickly. Okay, your digestive enzymes also will help you to get more out of your food so that you actually can break down food, digest it more properly, and get more nutrients out of it. Okay, the cleansing trio, that's a three-item product from Young Living that also helps the release of toxins. That's a great thing to do periodically. And sometimes in our group, we actually will run a cleanse using the cleansing trio. And you can do that just on its own. You can then incorporate a food or nutritional cleanse at the same time. There are a few different ways to do it. But the cleansing trio is 3 amazing products. Actually, one of them is a digestive enzyme. One is a fiber supplement. And one actually something that helps with that motility of stool, moving things through quickly, more quickly. All right. The other things that I love for supporting detoxification are products that support the liver. And so Young Living has quite a few of these. My favorites are Juvatone, JuvaCleanse, and JuvaFlex. So if you're a Young Living person already, these are products I think all of us should have and be aware of how to use, because we're all exposed to toxins, whether we like it or not. We're exposed to them in our environment. We're exposed to them in our food and products that we're using. So using things to help support the liver, to help cleanse the liver, highly beneficial for all of us. Okay. And then my favorite oils for detoxing are ginger, lemon, and citrus fresh. Citrus fresh is a blend from Young Living. It has a few different types of citrus oils. It has a little bit of spearmint. I love the way it tastes in my water. Those are what are called vitality oils. So they come in a form, actually, with a white label bottle, and that tells us that they're approved for ingestion. Okay, so that citrus fresh vitality is awesome in water. All right, so that's for supporting your body in detoxing. Okay, so we want to make sure we do things to reduce inflammation. We want to make sure that our detox pathways are working well, and we're getting rid of the toxins that are coming in. And we can also institute or integrate more toxin-free options, right? So we want to get the toxins out that we have, and then we want to stop the onslaught of bringing toxins into the body, right? So Young Living has a lot of products here to help reduce the toxins, that toxic load on your body, all right? One of my favorites, and I think everybody's favorite, I have it right here, is the Thieves Household Cleaner. So this is a concentrated, natural, biodegradable cleaner. It is made with essential oils. It smells amazing. It's made from the Thieves blend, which is clove, eucalyptus, rosemary, cinnamon, and lemon, and it's highly concentrated. So this bottle usually lasts me 6 to 8 months because you just use 1 capful in a 16-ounce bottle of water. All right, highly concentrated, and you can use it for everything: floors, counters, windows, everything. I even use it in my laundry as a stain remover. So it's phenomenal. Thieves Cleaner, there's a Thieves Laundry Soap. As I mentioned, laundry soap is important, right? We have something on us all day that has been through, had laundry soap used on it. Dish soap, you're washing your dishes with that and then eating off of that. All right, so we got to reduce the toxins in these big areas. Toothpaste, it goes in your mouth. It's going to get absorbed. Okay, so I use everything Thieves. Young Living has a Thieves product for everything that I just mentioned and more. And again, natural ingredients, full disclosure of every ingredient on the bottle. Most of the other companies out there do not do that. All right, they'll tell you it's natural, but they won't tell you exactly what's in it. Why is that, right? Young Living also has a whole line of skincare. Skincare is one of the biggest areas where women bring toxins into our bodies because we want to look good, right? We want our skin to look young and youthful. And so we'll buy these $80 creams that have toxic ingredients in them to try to get rid of the wrinkles, right? At all costs. So Young Living has amazing skincare products that work. And they use essential oils, right? Those healing properties of the essential oils. So many of them are amazing for your skin. So there's the Bloom line, and there's also the Art skincare line, right? Lots of options in there, all kinds of moisturizers, cleansers, facial scrubs, masks, you name it. You name it, Young Living has it, okay? Natural products. They also have a natural makeup, Savvy Minerals makeup. It's a mineral-based makeup, but they also have powder and they have liquid foundation. They have blush, eyeshadow, lip gloss, which is gorgeous, lipstick, you name it, okay? They have it all. So non-toxic makeup, no talc, no bismuth, no parabens, no fragrance. Fragrance is a big thing that's in skincare products and makeup that's very toxic to the body. Right? Young Living doesn't use any fragrance because Young Living uses essential oils instead. All right. And then check out your shampoos, deodorants, lotion, sunscreen, insect repellent. Young Living has all of those too, all natural, no triclosan, no parabens, none of the ingredients, no aluminum in the deodorant. So nothing that's going to be toxic to your body. Right. And really important that we start looking at these things, making changes. And Young Living has so many great options for that, all right? And so many other personal care products. You don't need perfume anymore, ladies. Use your essential oils. You don't need perfume, okay? Get rid of that toxin right off the bat. So those are a few ways that Young Living can help with reducing toxins, with helping to reduce inflammation in the body. And with supporting that natural detox process, giving it a little bit of help, a little bit of support. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you don't already have a Young Living account, I encourage you to just reach out to whoever shared this video to you, with you, and ask them, what would it be like to, be able to order from Young Living, to start integrating some of these natural, healthy products into my life, to start reducing the inflammation in my body, and to not be continually adding toxins and inflammatory items into my daily routine. All right, so I hope you do that. I wish you well. I hope this was helpful, and hope to see you soon.